Welcome to Go With The Workflow, where we interview world-class legal leaders in workflow automation to learn from their hard-earned experiences in making work more efficient and more meaningful. Today, we have a first-of-its-kind special episode filmed live here in Vegas at the CLOC Global Institute, the largest legal tech conference in the world, and with a live in-person audience too. And joining me as my guest is Jenn McCarron. Jenn is a podcaster, musician, changemaker, influencer, and legal operations leader. She was the leader for legal ops at Netflix, Spotify, and Cisco, and is currently the president of CLOC. In this episode, we talk about Jenn's background and career progression, big life changes, Legal Ops 3.0 as the future of legal ops, generative AI and its impact on the legal industry, why storytelling is such a critical skill for changemakers and how to develop it, and why workflow is a core and foundational technology for legal teams. Today's episode format is inspired by Hot Ones, but instead of eating spicy hot sauce chicken, we're going to work our way down a line of Aussie snacks with Jenn giving her honest review for each one. You may want to watch the video while you listen for this one. It should be a lot of fun, so I hope you enjoy it. This is a Go With The Workflow. It's part of a video and podcast series that we do. Today's a very special episode, the first of its kind, where we're doing it live in CLOC, CGI, Vegas, and with a live audience as well. So I want to start with this actually, Jenn. I did a little bit of digging, and I found a photo of you.
Oh my God. That's like, this is what happens when you let people follow you on Instagram. Jeez.
Yeah.
That is me drumming in a band rehearsal. Yeah.
And this is where you kind of started even before Legal Ops, right?
I really hate the camera. I really hated it. Yeah. This is pre-Legal Ops. Let me see how much baby fat I have on my face. Yeah, that was 2012. That was the denim chambray years.
Yeah.
So I was new in Legal Ops. I was maybe 1 to 2 years in, and still out, because I would run out of my day job and run out at night and be out all night playing music with people.
That's where you started. It's a big part of your life still.
Yes.
How did musician Jenn become Legal Ops Jenn?
One piece of constructive feedback at a time. So, death by 1,000 cuts. I don't know. So I was at this startup Tandberg then, and I was literally a temp making $9 an hour. And I remember when I got up to 11 an hour, I was like, God, I'm killing the game. And this is like 2010, 11-ish. And the general counsel and I would chat a lot. And he's like, you know a lot about technology. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, but you're really bad at work. And I'm like, well, I'm an office manager. What do you want from me? And he's like, but I know you're smart. And I'm like, I'm tired. I'm playing drums all night or whatever. So I don't know. It was like one cut at a time. He's like, write this brief. I'm like, I would turn it on and be like, okay. And then, he was a baby boomer general counsel, and he'd get like stuck at the printer a lot, and his like IBM ThinkPad would just seize, and I would come along and do the classic, I'd be reboot, and they're like, you know everything about computers. How do you know that? I'm like, I don't know. So fast forward, Cisco he offers me full-time work as a paralegal, contracts manager, compliance manager, and tech person. That was my title. And I'm like, yo, if you got dental benefits, I'm in. Call me whatever you want. And I'm like, every 3 months I need to go out on tour. Cool. And he's like, cool. I'll pay you the least amount of money possible. I'm like, I'll do the least amount of work. It was so weird. I hope he listens to this and we can laugh about it. And then Cisco comes along and acquires Tandberg. Yeah. And I spend a year or so helping map some of this legal tech workflow SharePoint stuff over contract spreadsheets, et cetera, to Cisco. And where I'm walking him out after his retirement party, and I'm carrying banker's boxes of his files. And we get to the elevator. I'm like, bye, Steve. And I drop the boxes. And he goes, you work about as hard as a government worker. And I And I'm like, great, thank you. And he's like, you know, if you really wanted to take this seriously and try a tech career, he's like, you're brilliant. You could go be a patent lawyer, or Cisco's going to suck you guys into the vacuum now. And he goes, I plugged you in higher than I should have. So if you want it, go for it. Like, turn it all on and try it. Like, you're really smart at tech and people are drawn to you. And I was like, okay. And it was like, bong, bing, bong, bing, bong. Bye. And I walked back to the empty office like a bit of a fork in the road. And I went into Cisco and pretended I never sucked. And it was around 2013 by the time I got in there. And I was very tired of staying up all night, rocking out with everyone, and then trying to be useful during the day in my day job. And I ended this band I was in. We put out a record, and I was like tired of project managing. And I said, let me put the bass guitar down. I'm going all in at Cisco, and I'm going to turn every bit of my brain on. And I'm going to be really uncomfortable because I was like, all these corporate people and the lingo and the letters, and Cisco is notorious for it. But I'm going to learn it all and figure something out. And I never want to be at the bottom of a pile again. I was going to flip the whole thing and try to come out on top. And it took me years to get that system in order for myself at Cisco, and I did not come in strong. I had to learn this field from people in 2013 who were experts already. Farhad, who is my guy, he's on my team at Netflix. He was like leagues ahead of me, and that guy taught me mostly everything I know with such care, and I pulled out front. I came out of Cisco with a brand and products and everything, and from there, who knew that Cisco was so advanced? I was working in the future. They didn't have DocuSigns then. We built it all in-house, and then I got all these IT chops, building, breaking down, buying, licensing, the whole thing. Cisco, Spotify, Netflix, almost a startup, skirt. And then I was there for 7 days. I was in a WeWork, and then Netflix called. I was like, bye, you guys, bye. This was really fun, and I'm like, kombucha's on tap, but I'm going to Hollywood to work at Netflix, and that's the story in a nutshell.
And I want to talk a little bit about that evolution in your career, actually. But before we do that, we do have a plate of snacks we have to get through.
Tell me where to start.
So, do you want to start with something like?
I'm a sweet person.
You want to start with something sweet?
Less so chocolate. And I just have to say, if anything resembles Nutella, I don't have an allergy, so I won't die out in front of you all. That'd be a show. Wow. But just steer me away from Nutella-y stuff. But everything else is good.
Gotcha. Have you ever? So.
It's not Nutella.
Yeah, it's
not.
not.
Oh my God, it's worse.
It's fish.
It's like fish schmear.
Wait. So, do you want to start with sweet or not sweet?
Let's start with sweet.
Okay, fine.
I need some fuel.
We'll start you off with something that's pretty safe. This is. Does anyone know what this is called?
This looks right up my alley.
Fairy bread. So today we're taking a journey through Aussie snacks. This is fairy bread. It's kind of what you grow up with in primary school. You go to parties and the mums would like make this for you, and it's. What do you think?
It's
Eat along.
definitely weird. There's a butter hit, and it's like you don't know if you should allow that. But it's ending up. It's like you start down, you're like, where are we? Mystery substance, but it ends up because in the end, that's butter with sprinkles on it.
Correct. Yeah. Amazing. I actually haven't had one since I was a kid, so this is a bit of a throwback for me. Oh.
I can get down with that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. All right, so you talked about starting in Cisco. That was your first legal ops gig. Spotify, the Netflix.
Yeah.
You recently put out an article. You said you know the future of legal ops.
Yeah, I do.
Space age.
I do. I know the future. That's what I was trying to tell you guys this morning and in the article.
Uh-huh.
I think what happened at Netflix, I left there in March, and so I'm really processing on thousands of people's ears. Thank you. We worked at triple speed. At the Netflixes, the tech companies, it's so fast and so info chaotic. It can literally make you motion sick if that's not your style. And there's no rules and few approvals. And I was there in a time where the budget was ready to go and back whatever ideas we had. It was crazy. It was crazy. And they went, just go, put it all in. And so we did that. And I'm coming out now, I'm looking at my guy Farhad at dinner a couple weeks ago. I'm like, what did we do there? And he's like, dude. And I'm like, dude. He's like, dude. I'm like, 55 tech products, 9 tech platforms.
Wow.
We got this contract repository out of engineering's hands because they didn't want it. And we put in an AI-powered CLM. I'm like, bro. He's like, bro. I'm like, you built 2,000 generative AI models in the last 2 years, live running across those contracts. It's when you step out of things like this and you go, we did 11 years of work in 5.5 years. Mm-hmm. And it's when you get to step back from that and go, whoa, Evisort has 9 million data points on our hundreds of thousands of contracts with 2,000 models. I can't believe it. It was at that moment when he said, him and Devin Clark were reading out to me. I was like, that's career for us forever. If we wanted to just take a hard right and go into AIing, Gen AI, prompt understanding, and how to make stories out of that data as well, I had a big revelation. It's turned me like total optimist on generative AI. And those environments are great for density of output like that. And now I'm trying to reflect and write more. But the future, because I got to do so much work, I know the future. And because Netflix is like sort of a pressure cooker of a chaotic environment, they're always like shaking you and challenging your thoughts. And they're like, well, why is tech here, not in engineering? I'm like, I don't know, because we're here, because it made sense to start here. And they're like, well, should you go there? And I'm like, well, maybe one day, after we hit a certain elevation in the tech, maybe it should go, or a portion goes over to engineering, so those guys can grow in a new and different way in their careers. But there's an inflection point, and we were trying to find it. And then someone was like, well, why isn't finance OCM in finance? And I'm like, I know the words sound alike, but there's this domain experience thing that we evolved because finance doesn't have that. And so we're here in legal now. And they're like, well, don't you see a place where it can go over there? And I'm like, I do. It's not today. But the way we were just thinking and the shape of all of this was so amorphous. It challenged all my thinking on the way we've been kitchen sinking our roles for the last few years based on what some of our predecessors shout out there in the other room. That's how it started. They kitchen synced a lot of this. I'm like, I'll do it started with financial outside counsel management. I'll do the tech. We'll bring on project. We'll bring KM, and it all came in. But I found in the last year at Netflix, I was struggling to love the breadth, and I wanted more depth in the tech. And I'm a technologist, so you guys know I skew that way. And so that's why I see the future, because they're so fast and chaotic there, and they challenge your thinking. And that means that's the thinking we're all going to be challenged with over the next few years. Hopefully they don't all move psychotically as fast. It was so fast. And I had a lawyer say to me recently, they said to me, well, I don't understand why finance, outside counsel management, what that even has to do with legal ops. Shouldn't that maybe sit in my function because it's so litigation spend heavy, that kind of thing. And I said, well, interestingly, the whole thing started as financial OCM, outside counsel management, but you don't know that. You're a litigator and you don't care, and I'm not here to give you a history lesson. But then I went into her head and looked back at myself through her eyes, and I'm like, oh, you think this whole thing's tech? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, and I named it legal ops at Netflix. When they brought me in, they're like, it's legal tech. And I'm like, well, it's legal ops. And they're like, tech, ops, tech, ops. And they're like, well, what is ops? And I was like, tech. Well, we call it ops. And I'm going to bring in a financial outside counsel management team and let those guys show you how much money you're wasting. And they're like, okay. So some of this is tomato, or some of this is they don't get it. But all of this to me means I think the technology and the data of all of this and the people that can make stories of that first will win the next best jobs in our fields. I think we always will need financial outside counsel management. I don't see a lot of people alone with that ascending into exec ranks. you have to ascend with breadth of all of this stuff or tech, because tech is very hard. It is extremely hard, extremely unknown. You need coders and engineers. It's a higher resource budgeting. So I hope I answered your question. That's why I think I see and know the future, and I think it's going that way. I think our 1.0 predecessors, which is so meaningful that they're just in the other room, listening to me as if I'm something big. Those guys made me make the app at the first CLOC Institute, and nobody thanked me. Thank you. No acknowledgement.
Yeah, thank you.
No credit.
I recognize you.
Okay, you guys didn't know me from Bob. I remember being like, "Hi, Mary O'Carroll." Yeah. But yeah, it's okay for it to have started with FOCM, Finance Outside Council Management, and it's okay if the shape of how it sits or where, and it's okay if it's not all square under one leader. You're not failing if it's not under one kitchen sink leader. We can still achieve all the things, and I don't know, going back to depth. Or maybe I just want to do tech. But we have a captive audience, so I'm gonna tell you what I want.
And I want to talk a little bit about your change in view of Gen AI. You said it's really changed your view after implementing what is a great success story, probably the last thing that you did before you left Netflix. But again, we gotta hit the play.
Hit the play.
We went from. So, do you want to do something a little bit more challenging, or you want to still ride?
I think we should put the hard stuff first.
You want to do it first?
That's the kind of person I am.
All right.
Hard stuff first, and then we'll coast. And I'd like to end at the Tim Tam.
Okay, that's a good idea. All right.
What is this? What is this poop on a spoon?
You want to try it? You want to try that one now?
Sure.
Okay, so this is.
Oh God, say a prayer for it.
So this is usually what we give to Americans to prank them when they're into Aussie food. So this is known as Vegemite.
Oh, this is Vegemite. I've been talking about this all
Yeah?
day.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
One shot. Whole thing.
Oh, whole thing.
Whole thing. Whole thing.
What does my podcast producer think I should do? Okay.
It's fish, salty fish.
What? That's. I don't have words.
I don't know what this is, but it tastes a whole lot better with that.
Who chooses to eat this?
Australians actually for breakfast.
Whoa.
So normally, yeah. So it's a spread that you put.
Thank you for not letting me eat the whole thing.
So normally, what it's meant to look like is you put a thin layer on top of butter on top of bread, and then you just eat this as breakfast. It's really healthy.
Ew.
Yeah. That's a,
Yeah, too.
Well, it's really healthy because you stopped eating.
yeah.
So this is
Try
the
it.
same
Let's
thing
try
on
it.
bread?
Yeah, let's try with the bread. It's better though, right?
It is better.
It is better.
That's a relative term.
Yeah, better.
That's challenging.
Is that what you eat on a Monday morning? Like, to start your week off on
Yeah, just like
Monday,
the hardest thing on the Monday. Get it over and done with. Everything else is easy.
Everything else is uphill.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. That was probably either the worst or the second worst.
My body temperature is like up. Ooh. What's the It's like a vinegar in there with the fish.
I think it's like
What is the burn?
That's what it is.
What is it?
It's like yeast. Yeah.
Oh, it's the yeast. Disgusting. Disgusting. Oh my god. Okay. Hard thing out of the way. We've tried it, and I never have to do that again. This is the matter management of the veggie of the plate. I never want to do. I'm just shots fired. Matter management. I still have never done matter management, and I hope to never do it. Yeah, but we need it. If you're doing it, we love it. So thank you.
All right, so Gen AI, you
Yeah.
were a skeptic at first?
Yeah.
You were?
I was a skeptic because, well, I don't like sitting around listening to everyone pontificate. I have like half of a science brain. I'm like, show me or STFU. And there was just too much I think going on, and I didn't say anything other than I'm skeptical. But I'm from New York. I'm skeptical. I think everyone's trying to steal my phone or harm me, and the glass is always half empty. So I was kind of coming at it from that perspective,
Right.
and I wanted to see proof.
Yeah.
And I started seeing proof in the last 5 months, and I started seeing how a generative AI feature on inside the contract lifecycle management solution Evasort did what engineering was taking years to build and not get to fully complete. That feature, we turned it on and it did that in minutes. And I was like, oh. And then when engineering and product saw it, they were like, oh. And believer. And when you start to see how people see that, like the customer of the application, through their eyes, you're like, whoa. They can just sit and hammer through a Gen AI combo bot and get everything they need. Like search is over. Search is over with that feature. And yeah, when we get to the place when they're ready to see it generate and take over their first drafts, that's going to be a moment in time. But I think we need a few more months on that, or quarters.
So I was at the same Link event you were, I think like 2 weeks ago in
That's
New York.
right.
And we were talking about Gen AI.
Yeah.
You were talking about like the procrastination of a blank canvas.
Yeah.
And Gen AI being able to bridge that because it helps you very quickly turn that blank canvas into a starting point.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you think about sort of the user experience that this impacts for legal? Because, you know, in my view, Gen AI is like a complete transformation of how we interact with technology.
Yeah.
To your point, search is dead in that context.
Yeah.
So how do you think it's going to impact legal as an industry at whole? What are some pockets? You talk about CLM. What are some other pockets of impact do you think it'll make in the coming years?
I think it's going to be, well, in legal, whenever people say, what about legal? I'm like, well, what about productivity? I saw what's Google's Gen AI product? Is it Gemini?
Gemini, yeah.
I saw an end-to-end demo of Gemini in the G Suite by Google engineers in New York last year. And my head fell off my shoulders. It fell off. The way he moved from an email to across his G drive to bulleted out slides to a pivot table to back to an email, just talking to a bot, and I'll put that into a slide deck, spread it out over 5. And when I started going into Excel, I was like, bro, this is crazy. There's no more blank docs if we don't want them. Or you're telling someone, your new assistant, to make it for you, versus you know, when you're at the beginning of a spreadsheet at a new job, you're like, here we can go. And you procrastinate because it's hard and it takes so many iterations. Slides take a lot of iterations. Imagine you had if I had like my 500 slide decks from Netflix and I can sit with Gemini and go, give me the one with all the Grey's Anatomy gifts in them for the Gen X lawyers so I can convince them again. Like, don't worry, I'm putting an iManage. If they hate it, you're the son, legal. I'll just take it out like Derek with the bus and put a and I just all the things. So it was a real slideshow. But I built slide libraries for the storytelling. Imagine that first crafting is done by the machine. That's what's coming. So it's going to be like that in all legal briefs, in all contract drafting. And I think this younger generation is going to never know the blank doc.
Yeah.
And that anxiety, they're just going to be like, well, I just got it from the machine. Why would I waste my time on that? And they're going to think that was so 1970s.
Totally.
Yeah, like, why would I waste my time? Gen X. That's my Gen X voice. I don't know why. I don't know.
You mentioned storytelling just now as well. I know you're a big fan of storytelling and how it's really, really important for us as a profession to be good storytellers.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
What are how do we become better storytellers? I know you talk about data being a core part in telling a compelling story, but what are some tips you can give to us in crafting our own stories, whether that's adopting Gen AI in our organizations, or elevating the value of legal to 3.0?
Yeah.
How do you think about it?
How do you develop the storytelling ability? Well, there's inside the data world, you need the superstar in my team at Netflix. Hope you guys aren't listening to this. I love you all equally, like you were my children. But I felt the superstar one in the most recent quarters was the data scientist, like deep data analytics person skill, because you can unleash that person into a data warehouse with millions of tables, and it's very messy, and every enterprise solution connects in there, and that person will sit there and go, I know this table, I know that, join. Oh, you want contract and deal volume version 1 for the first time ever at Netflix? True story. They asked me to do, they come at me in my second year and they're like, can you do a deal contract dashboard on 2 systems I never put in that were built internally by product and engineering? And I said, I fainted, actually. And when I came to, I told my deputy general counsel, can you give me 1 year? And she's like, yeah, sure. And I came back in a year, and it was him. And he mined all of the data. And every time he found a messed up table, he'd go to that team in engineering or product or data science who owned it and go, we have to clean up how the data comes in from pitch tool, contract tool, this, that, the other. And then he'd come out, and came out with version 1 of a dashboard that let leaders see their own legal team's throughput for the first time ever in Netflix, in legal. So I think that's a skill set that I don't, if I focused on it full time, I can do it. I mean, I took statistics 3 times, not bragging, but I could do it. I love statistics. And I was that weirdo in all my stats classes in college who just sat there like this. And they're like, what is she doing? And I was like, it's called getting an A. Because my brain just, I love it, but I don't spend my time there. I have to hire for it. That skill set. I spend my time, after he or she comes out with a story of this is how they relate, I spend the time arcing the whole story around it and how to get them in the room and engage the people and going, here's why you're here today and what you're going to learn and where we're going. And I set this like endpoint in the story and help arc it to get there. So it's more strategic storytelling with the solution. So they're different, and I don't know. You know how to do the data science. You got to just be deep on statistics, data science, and all those. That's very technical stuff, mathematical stuff. And then this is all practice. Do very bad presentations. You guys should all be presenting all the time. You should always be going around legal going, who wants to hear it? And getting in there and going, I'm a legal office. And we're here to make you more, and to practice these pitches. And Louisa can speak to this. Do not show them the CLOC Core 12. Right, Louisa? We talked about this. That's for us to know and to pick and to decide what to do. That's not for them to menu, pick off of, or understand at depth what that means. But you have to go in and tell them where you're going to take them, and it's narrative. Reading really helps, writing helps, practicing on slides, taking comms courses, even sitting on YouTube and taking a comms course. Like, people are always like, well, you're just so talented. I'm like, no, I rehearse like 900 times and I have had many bad presentations. So that all just comes with serious reps. Like getting a story framework and then repeating a billion times. Like what I wrote for this morning, I rehearsed that probably 50 times. That's a light rehearsal for me.
Wow.
When I'm going in to sell legal for the first time on the big message, 300 plus rehearsals. That's how you get good at that, is rehearsal. And I rehearsed in front of my spouse. And she shreds me. She shredded me last week. She was like, stand still on stage. She's like, all this moving, you're like a firecracker. And she's like, your guys' work is hard enough. Now they have to watch you on stage. So like, be vulnerable and get shredded, and like take those notes in and modify your behavior. Like, that's how you get good at the storytelling part of it.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I used to also rehearse for different pitches and things like that.
Yeah.
I should have had a real human being to give me feedback. I used to
Yeah.
take my little teddy bear and put it on the bed, and I used to pitch
Yeah.
at like a teddy bear,
Yeah.
which obviously didn't shred me to pieces.
Yeah.
It gave me actually overconfidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Evan just admitted he's talking to stuffed animals. This podcast just took a turn. But look, if you don't have someone that's going to do that with you, just get over yourself and record yourself. Like, we have the best tool right here. Just record yourself and don't hate nobody likes seeing and hearing their voice, but watch it and go, my God, I'm stiff, loosen up. My God, I never look up from the thing, like look up more. When you play sports, coaches make you watch your own tapes back of the game. And I've done that a lot. And I do it with audio. I hear all my own podcasts and I'm like, ugh, I gotta like stop with that thing I do or that tick. So you guys have to like, I don't know, not to take another turn, but like love yourselves a little more and like be willing to just put yourself on your own camera if you don't have a spouse who's willing to shred you. If you have a spouse who's like, love you, babe, it was amazing, forget them. You need a spouse like Emily Stone, my wife, the writer, who was a drama person, a teacher, and now she's a professional writer. So she just cooks me. Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
You ready to get some of the Vegemite taste out of our...
Please.
All right, let's...
I'm like nauseous.
What should we... Okay, so we have either like a chocolate, which you said let's avoid, right?
No, we have to avoid it.
Okay. Do you
Just explain what kind of chocolate.
Okay, so we have two. So we have a caramel wallaby and a caramello koala, both Australian
Let's
animals.
try the caramel wallaby.
Koala? Let's do that. All right. This should be nice.
Cadbury stuff is nice.
Yeah, this should be good. So eat along if you haven't already devoured your own chocolates before we started. Yeah. All right.
Oh, that's good.
Good? Oh.
I like that.
It tastes familiar to some of you. Is there like an American equivalent?
Yeah, a Rolo.
Roller. All right. So I've got another photo of you. Actually, this is from a webinar that we did years ago as well together.
Oh my God, we crushed. Is
Yeah.
it the one? Is it the moment?
Is
Is it the moment that magically came together with my girl Kim?
Oh yeah, you got it. This is the one. So we were doing a podcast, and Jen basically ends it with pulling up Kim K saying, "Get your," I think that's a bleep.
It's an
It's
expletive that starts with F that she said to all women and got roasted for. Get your effing A to up and work. And then at the end of the webinar, I wrote flow.
Yeah.
And it turned into your new your new slogan, basically.
Basically, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about workflow. It is
Yeah.
go with the workflow. So this, I know that you've said before that if you were stranded on a desert
It's still
island,
the first thing.
It
It's
is.
still the first thing I would do. I'm in some wonderful potential combos around consulting. Like someone's like, "Will you come into our legal department and do something?" I'm like, "Are you sure?" Because it's gonna be lit. Like we're gonna do stuff. Are you ready to go? And I got off the phone with them and I called Justin Hectus, now at Harbor Labs, and I said, "Get ready, because if I go in anywhere, I might call you, and you're bringing in either a checkbox with me or a tap or whatever the workflow is, because that stuff is always first. It's small solutions you can prove out, put in people's hands at a cost that isn't like this." And I start with workflow many times in a row now.
I feel like people understand CLM. We talked about that. Matter management, dare I say, as well. But workflow seems to be a little bit of a term that isn't self-explanatory, right? Like people are like, what is a workflow? Like how do people wrap their heads around that? How do you explain that to
Show
people?
of hands, who's built workflows in here on workflow only software? Fewer? A couple of your hands. Which one? Power?
Power on me.
Yeah. What's that on Microsoft?
Microsoft.
Yeah. Okay. It counts.
Right.
We'll let them in.
So there's a lot of people who understand workflow, but workflow within
Yeah.
an existing system, right?
Yeah.
But you're talking about workflow automation as a platform.
Standalone.
Standalone.
As a platform.
Yeah.
That's one of the 9 platforms my team and I brought in while I was at Netflix. And from 9 platforms, we were able to build 55 tech products. And workflow was responsible for probably a third of those. And you can start nesting them within one another so much. And I have a great guy on my team, Farhad, who, thank God you left Facebook, because I was coming for him. I was going to steal him from Brian Huff. Just kidding.
I couldn't win in that battle.
Well, I had to fight against now Meta's adult playground benefits. Farhad's like, do you have dry cleaning? I'm like, you wear t-shirts, bro. Dry cleaning. I was like, get out of here. Is there a valet? I'm like, Farhad, just come to Netflix. He is a masterful workflow builder, and he knew the TAP platform then and now, possibly still better than Mitra Tech. He's just such a tinkerer, and he came in and we just started sucking up problems in there. And when you have a platform like that, you go in the room, and when the woman who I worked with said, I want Salesforce, and it was my 4th day, and I'm like, Jocelyn, we can't. I can't. It's not a Salesforce shop here. I was like, but how about a deal memo generator? And I'm like, how many data points does your team fetch? And she's like, 80. And I'm like, manually? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, let's draw the process. Spaghetti bowl. It was like, ugh. And I'm like, let's try something very small where we take a workflow and pull in 10 data points from those 6 teams, including external casting agents. And she's like, okay. And we showed her, and it couldn't have been more than 10 or 15K to show that and develop it. That's cheap. That's pretty cheap to get going with. And she was like, keep going, I'm interested. And we kept building and we kept building. You guys, this workflow had workflows. The workflows had workflows. They were nesting off of each other. It was very big. By the time I left Netflix, it was running on, 260 Netflix productions, like currently up and running for guest cast actors, background actors, big crowd scenes. It started as, let me show you how it can find 5 or 10 things, and we iterated to more than half of Netflix productions had it on tablets on sets. And I was at a Netflix dinner probably 7 months ago in Los Angeles with a bunch of production people that I met, and I'm like, hey, and we're like socializing. And this one woman turns to the other and she goes, I love Netflix because we have these great tools here. And she just started talking about Maniac. And I was like, you're not going to believe this. My team built that. And we built it with workflow, not with going to market to buy a Salesforce or custom build. And sure, it's not a one-for-one. It's not the database. But the malleability we got with it and the way we bent that software, we built like calculators and things, it was so creative. And you can use this software to do that.
Yes.
Be really creative and solve in a very bespoke way.
If people remember, actually, a few years ago, like the phrase no code kind of blew up, and all of a sudden all of the vendors had no code in their marketing. Now it's all AI, right? But no code actually came from the workflow tools because the whole concept was, how do you build custom solutions without needing to code? And that's what you're talking about, because it's sort of this generic sort of horizontal tool that solves hundreds, thousands of different use cases. It's not tied to contracts. It's not tied to outside council management. It's
you can just tie it to anything across the business, any kinds of workflows. And sometimes it's directly legal stuff. Sometimes it's a workflow you build to keep legal out of it. We built an offer letter workflow at Netflix, and employment legal was like, cool, like I can be bothered less. And they felt empowered with the data and the analytics they got to take off of that. So it was really fun. I'm a big fan of workflow first.
You do it again if you were to
I would do it again workflow. For sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Before CLM.
Oh my, who wants to put in a CLM ever again? Not me. But I would do it for benefits, guys. We're just kidding. But CLM's big, it's hard, it's expensive, it's long. I mean, I would do anything. I'm even crazy enough. I tried doc management. I tried it at Netflix. When I told them no on the third time on the interview there, I was like, doc management in a G Suite environment will never work. Thanks for the offer. I'll let myself out now. And I still tried it anyway to prove it out in there once I said yes. And they were like, come to Netflix. I was like, okay. I tried it to prove it out, and I failed horribly and miserably putting that in. So I would try anything in tech just because it's fun. And if you're in the right place and people are into failure, it's cool.
Absolutely. Very cool. All right. Back to the plate.
Yep.
We had something nice. We're going to have something that's not so nice next.
Jeez.
Yeah. This is the one that I was saying could be worse than the Vegemite, but maybe you'll like it more. Yeah, you already know which one. You just picked it up. So this is known as Wheat Bix. Yeah, go for it.
I kind of like this.
You like it?
Yeah. This tastes like some kind of cereal my mom would get or something. What? Yeah. Or wheat things. Yeah.
It's like the wood chips in IKEA.
Or that.
That's so funny.
This isn't so bad.
Well, yeah, it tastes okay, but it gets really, really dry if you try to finish the whole thing.
Yeah.
So normally what you're meant to do is you're meant to eat this with milk.
I can
Like
see
this
that.
sits, yeah. So it is actually a cereal breakfast food again. So
I
it
can see
sits
that
in milk.
with like some milk or some yogurt. I'm having a fun time.
Yep. Usually you cut some fruit in as well. So fruit,
Oh, yeah.
Wheat Bix, milk. Oh.
It's taking all the terrible other flavors away. It's washing the fish away.
I feel like I shouldn't have taken the second bite.
I like this actually. If there's nothing else here, I would keep munching on that.
I think we're getting to, what do we have left? We have the Tim Tam, but we also have, before we hit the Tim Tam, shall we do a double hit? So
Yeah.
there's a piece, this here. You got one of these? So I think you posted, you commented on one of our posts for this event, and you said Tim Tams, yes,
Yeah.
Kangaroo.
That's kangaroo.
Uh-huh.
I could just smell like something really bad happened here. It's beyond beef. Wait, you guys eat kangaroo? I thought you liked them.
We do. They box us. We ride in them to school.
And then you just, you hunt them and eat them?
No, so I don't know how it works, but I know there's a lot of roadkill. I don't know if that is what ends up here.
This is like roadkill jerky.
I'm not sure. I'm not a kangaroo hunting expert, but usually you eat it either as a jerky or you can have it almost like a steak
Like a what?
or a sausage.
Breakfast sausage.
Oh, it's a snack, not a snake.
A snack, a steak.
A steak.
A steak.
I thought he said a snake. I'm like, end of podcast.
Okay, so here's the thing. We don't actually eat kangaroo too often in Australia. Like I certainly don't.
As president of CLOC, I don't know if I can eat kangaroo. I'm gonna take a really small bite. I'll be bold.
Don't do it.
Fortune favors the bold. No, it tastes better than it smells.
Tastes like rabbit.
Rabbit's it's not the worst, but the smell is weird. You're like something happened here.
Yeah, it's kind of gamey.
That's what
yeah,
it is. It's
gamey.
To put gamey meat inside jerky is tough.
Strange.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, I tried it.
One last question
Yeah.
for you, and then we'll hit the Tim Tam
Okay.
and celebrate. Legal ops.
Yeah.
What should we do less of, and what should we do more of as an industry?
Start, stop, continue. Are we doing a start, stop, continue right now in legal ops?
Yeah, exactly.
What should we do less of?
Uh-huh.
What should we do more of? I don't know. What do you guys think? What should we do less of? Tell me what to say, and then we'll go out on stage and say it, and then we'll change the industry. Just kidding. Just kidding. Ooh, that's a really good one.
We finally stumped her.
You guys stumped me, and you didn't send me any questions.
This was not prepped at all, by the way. This is completely
Even
candid.
if you sent me questions in advance, I wouldn't have read them. So just guess what? I don't prep. I don't prep.
Yeah.
I don't prep for these kinds of combos. They're better natural.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll just draw a point from what I said earlier today and what I wrote about with Legal Ops 3.0 and this idea. I think we need to be doing controlling more of the tech strategy and agenda. And I think with that, I mean, this is biased, but you're going to have to hire probably, you'd have to favor tech resources in your hiring strategies in the future, and or beg that product manager of yours to be your best friend. You take her to dinner, lunch, breakfast. I can tell she's your superstar, building the biggest alliance and trust partnership with them. I just think that the strategy and the future for legal is in the tech side. I don't think... Cover your ears, Coates. Savings is not a strategy. Thanks. It's really important, and it's financial hygiene, but I don't know that it's gonna... It depends on your leadership, but I don't know that it's gonna get us to the new promised land. I think where we are now is an amazing promised land that those guys got us to. We all are online with careers and kind of these unknown new endpoints coming into fruition, and we're drawing these career paths. And I'm going to spend the rest of my unemployed year drawing literally career paths for us all. I just think that with the tech and the AI stuff, we have a lot to figure out there, and it's only figure outable, made that up, with experiments and doing the actual work. We can't sit on panels and be like, I think, Gen AI. Like, that's not going to work. You have to get in there and go, whoa, what? And learn how an LLM works, and then put it in your lawyer's hands and let them have their reactions and then go from there. So I think that's my start, stop, continue. Did I say what to stop? Yeah. Saving money. Keep innovating. Keep innovating. Look, I'll close with this. I don't say this on stage. It's not for stage, and this is an okay setting to do it. We all have to be willing, it sounds weird, to kind of kill last year's version of your job. If you're really doing transformation, I learned this at Spotify. The CEO said to us, if you're doing your job right at Spotify, it will be different in 12 to 18 months. It has to be. That's how fast we're moving and experimenting and figuring it out. And I was like, no way, Daniel Eck. And it was true. And in 18 months, I had 2 other job offers in the company in engineering and 5 in the open market. And we have to be willing to build the financial program, outside counsel management, scale it up. That analyst becomes the manager because she just packaged it all, shipped level 1 to Elevate, and you get out of there. Or move over here and do it over here. And I believe if we're all doing our roles right, we get to move around the spectrum, but you have to be willing to walk, not from your jobs, but from that scope and keep going. So I think if you're doing that, we're doing it right, because we have a lot of unknown to solve for with innovation.
It's amazing. I was at a conference the other day, and a GC was talking about her legal ops and saying that she sees it as a resource she deploys over here, fixes problems, comes back to legal. Goes over there, fixes problems, comes back to legal. Yeah. And that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, don't it's okay to stay static, and if you're a person who likes that, do that. And you can stay in your corner and design your thing, your workflows or whatever for a long time. But your leader might have to and do all of that. So be comfortable with change, because we're not done drawing this thing. And we're trying to figure out new endpoints for all our careers, and be willing to let go of scope and go solve the next problem or give it to the next person. I was always like, take it. At Netflix, I was like, you want this? It's all yours. And that was even hard for me a lot of the time, because we're all human and we want to yank our cheese back. But yeah, I think
amazing.
Keep evolving.
Amazing. All right, shall we finish off with the final Tim Tam?
This is a good snack. This is why we ended here. This is why we ended here. We started at like the matter management of the plate, and we ended with, this is like as easy and smooth as an NDA generator. Oh my God.
Built on workflow.
I'm built on workflow. I built my NDA generator on workflow. You don't have to buy CLM for that.
No.
Save like $1 million. Not literally. I'm like $1 million.
Amazing. All right, well, thank you so much, Jen. You've been very generous with your time and candor.
Thank you, guys. This was fun.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Go with the Workflow. If you found it valuable, you can subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app like Spotify or Apple Podcast. Also, please consider giving us a rating or leave a review, as that really helps other listeners find the podcast too. That's all for now, so we'll see you at the next episode.